This is MA second year, semester 4. Journalism and Mass Communication is the program, and the paper is Public Relations. Let's begin with the quote that is printed in the text material. We may forego material benefits of civilization, but we cannot forego our right and opportunity to reap the benefits of the highest education to the fullest extent, as the education is the greatest material benefit. This is said by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Open University, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, after whom the university has been named. Welcome once again. Now in this course, Public Relations, we have 5 blocks, and each block is having at least 1 or 2 or 3 units. Unit does mean lesson. It means we have in block 1, that is Introduction to Public Relations, we have 2 units, that is 2 lessons. Lesson 1 is what is public relations? And unit 2, that is lesson 2, is Principles of Public Relations. In block 2, Models and History of Public Relations, you have again 2 lessons. First lesson, that is serial number 3. The first lesson in this block is Public Relations Models. And the next lesson is History of Indian Public Relations, wherein we'll be tracing the history of public relations, its origin, and the present day public relations. And in block 3, we have 3 lessons. The name of the block 3 is Process of Public Relations. And in this block, you have 3 lessons. One lesson is devoted to 4 stages of RPCE model of public relations. Another lesson deals with the in-house PR structure. And one more lesson in this block is structure and functions of PR firms, that is in-house PR and external PR. In-house PR department and PR agencies that work outside the department, wherein public relations practitioners can avail the services of PR firms. They are also called as PR agencies. In block 4, public relations and in private and corporate sector. In this block, you have 3 lessons. One lesson is devoted to corporate public relations, public corporate communications. And another lesson is meant for discussing corporate social responsibility, that is CSR. And the third lesson in this block is public relations in private sector. And the last block in this course, in this paper, is ethics in public relations. One lesson is devoted to ethics in public relations, and another one is digital public relations. So this is all about this paper. You have 5 blocks. Each block will have 2 to 3 lessons, and we'll be able to finishing these classes according to the schedule given to us. And what is public relations? Public relations is a profession of conscientiousness. It works towards fulfilling the wants and interests and maintaining better relationship with all the public. So the word public relations means relationships, meaningful relationships with the public. Who are the public? Public here in public relations profession, in public relations parlance, they are not general public. General public is a myth in the practice of public relations, because public relations practitioner or public relations professional is attached to an organization, be it a government department or a public sector undertaking, whatever is the entity, the public relations practitioner is basically attached to or working in an entity, and he deals with the public concerned with that organization. Therefore, the general public is not concerned. It is not the concern of the public relations. The concern of the public relations practice is the targeted public. The targeted public, the concerned public, the specified public. So public means not general public. You cannot ask general public, go and ask them, let that we are practicing relationship with the general public. It is always with the targeted, segmented, specified public, concerned public. This you must know very specifically. Specific communication programs are devised and implemented for each specific public. So again, public are segmented into internal public and external public. We'll be discussing this during the course of our debate or lecture. Public relations personnel can help activate the organization's social conscience and thus foster the goodwill of community. It is to foster the goodwill of the community. We'll be discussing about the identity, image, reputation, and goodwill, all these things during the course of our discussion. Okay, as I told you in the lessons, 2 lessons we are going to discuss today. In the lesson 1, because it deals with the definition of public relations, nature and scope of public relations in relation to democratic country, public relations as a distinct thing from propaganda, publicity, public affairs, lobbying, advertising, etc. functions, because they are different. Though some of the things discussed here are related to public relations, certain things are bad in public relations practice. So that we are going to discuss. In lesson 2, it describes the concept of organization. What is organization? How it functions? What is its hierarchy and all that? And the publics connected to the organization. What would be the corporate mission? And what is the two-way process of communication? What is meant by public interest? What is multimedia approach? And of course, corporate identity, image, reputation, and goodwill, and all these things you will be discussing in the second lesson. Now let us deal with the first lesson and the what are the contents in this first lesson. So we'll be discussing the key elements of public relations and the targeted audience, as I told you. What is the nature and scope of public relations in relation to democratic country? Because you know what is democratic pattern. The earlier state, that is kingdom or the ruler, whoever is, whether maybe he is a despot or a benevolent ruler, the earlier form of the states used to be laissez-faire. Laissez-faire means non-interference. Let the things stand alone. The governments looked after only the duties of collecting the taxes, and for collecting the taxes, the government, be it a ruler or any popular government or the king or whatever it is, whatever the nomenclature is, he used to collect the taxes through a machinery and provide security to the governed. That means citizens. One is the external protection from the external threat, and the other one is maintaining internal peace, that is law and order. This was the system of the state of laissez-faire in the beginning. From that stage onwards, the nations across the world have moved the situation like welfare state. Welfare state does not mean just protection and collecting taxes, but looking into every aspect of human life, giving the utmost satisfaction for the welfare and happiness of the public at large. So this is the welfare concept of the state. And democracy is its main ingredient. If it is a welfare state, it ought to be a democratic state, democratic country. Okay, that is a different thing. Now, what are the things we are going to discuss in this lesson are public relations as distinct from propaganda, publicity, public affairs, lobbying, and advertising. And then what are the functions of public relations? Public relations as a practice, public relations as a profession, public relations as a management function. And then interpreting management. What is management? How it functions, and interpreting management to the public. So the public relations practitioner ought to interpret what is management to the concerned public. And to the management, the public relations practice should make the management understand what is public, what is their aspect, what is their aspirations, what are their wants, and all these things. It is interpreter role. This is called interpretation of the things, because he is the middleman between the management and the public concern. Then dissemination of public information. Dissemination means giving out. The information that you have, you are giving it out, is called the process of dissemination. So this also we are discussing in this lesson about the dissemination of public information and the growth of public information system or public information management in India. So this is the content, these are the contents of the lesson, lesson 1 that we are going to discuss now. And to say public relations is the lifeblood of any activity, because public relations is a daily application of common sense, common efficacy, and common decency. It is inherent in human nature. It is inherent in the culture itself. So need not tell you that somebody visits your house. What are the first things you do is the extension of courtesies. What is the basic courtesies? Asking them to sit, offering some water, and some exchanging some kind of niceties, and all these things are called gestures of public relations. You cannot put a black face. You'll be putting up a pleasant face with the visitors. This is called the gestures of public relations. Public relations also is a way organizations, companies, and individuals communicate with the media and public. Therefore, media relations is one important function of public relations. A PR specialist, a PR practitioner communicates with the target audience directly or indirectly through media with an aim to maintain a positive image and a strong relationship with the audience. It is establishing and maintaining mutual understanding between the organization and the concerned publics. Examples include press releases. Supposing you wanted to disseminate as a public relations practitioner, as a public relations professional attached to an organization or the government itself, what is the mode of communicating the message, dissemination of message? One is press release, then a newsletter, public appearances, press conferences, etc., as well as utilization of www, that is internet. Through internet, you can communicate the messages of the organization. In fact, public relations support all management functions because it is a management function. It is a specialized management function. It is a strategic management function, like HR, like marketing, like finance, etc. This is also one of the management functions. And if you look at the definitions, there are several definitions given by several social scientists, social science theorists, and communication practitioners and experts in the field. And important being the British Institute of Public Relations, that is called Chartered Institute of Public Relations. They have given a definition saying public relations is a deliberate, planned, and sustained effort to establish and maintain mutual understanding between an organization and its publics. It means you consider each word separately. It's a deliberate, sustained, planned. Public relations practice is a deliberate, manaspurtiga, deliberate, and with intention, plan, and sustained. Sustenance means continuity. Sustained efforts to establish and maintain mutual understanding. First to be established, and then it has to be maintained forever for mutual understanding. Establish and maintain mutual understandings between an organization and its publics for the mutual benefits. It is always mutual benefits. In business, there may not be mutual benefit. It is only one-side benefit. But in public relations practice, because it is a science of human engineering, because it is a science of motivation, because it is both an art and science of practicing public relations, it has to be always a mutual understanding and mutual benefit as well as mutual cooperation. That was the definition given by British Institute of Public Relations, also called as Chartered Institute of Public Relations. There are 183 organizations, one each for every country. For example, we also have one professional organization that is called Public Relations Society of India. Similarly, for every country, there will be a professional body at apex level and will have its chapters and organizations and branches in each state and each city. So, after dealing that definition given by the British Institute of Public Relations, let us move on to the definition given by Public Relations Society of America. They say public relations, this is the definition. Public relations help an organization and its publics. You just see the words gets repeated. Organization and publics, these two are common because these two are the important elements in the practice of anything. Be it public relations or management or human relations, HR or marketing or whatever it is. So public relations help an organization and its publics. Why it is publics? Why not it is public? And before that, let me clarify whether it is public relation or public relations. Some people say it is public relations, but that is incorrect. That is not good. It is the relationships with the public. Public means as a collective noun, many people. Publics means segmented people. Therefore, if you say public relations or public relations officer, it ought to be always public relations officer, public relations profession, public relations practice, public relations management. Never a singular. It is always plural like academics, politics, and statistics. You cannot say statistic, you cannot say politic, you cannot say mathematic. So similarly, you cannot say public relation. It is always public relations officer. Therefore, if you look at the definition of public, definition given by Public Relations Society of America, they said public relations help an organization and its publics adopt mutually to each other. It means they meet together. Public relations broadly apply to organizations as a collective group, not just business. And publics encompass the variety of different stockholders. So different kinds of peoples, different kinds of stockholders, different kinds of stakeholders, different kind of partakers, different kinds of audiences, consumers, customers, depending upon the nature of the organization, the public will be named as either clients or customers, audiences, listeners, stockholders, shareholders, partakers, and the whatever is the nomenclature. These are all the public attached to an organization with which public relations practitioners are practicing public relations. So there are several number of umpteen number of definitions given to public relations practice. But we have dealt sufficiently two definitions. One is American Public Relations Society of America, and the other one is Public Relations Society of Britain, UK. So to sum it up, public relations is a deliberate, planned, and sustained effort to establish and maintain mutual understanding between the organization and its publics for the mutual benefit. This is the definition, generalized definition of public relations. If you look at the key elements of public relations, they are public relations, as I told you, is a management function. It is not just a management function. It is a specified management function. It is a specialized management function. It is a strategic management function. And it is a unique management function because other management functions are different from public relations practice. In other faculties, in other management functions, people may not be important as much as in public relations practice. Because in public relations practice, people are important. The focus is always on the people, on the public, the segmented public, the targeted public. I am repeatedly telling you, the targeted public, the segmented public, the concerned public, and the specified public. Publics may be different, but what the public that are interested in the organization, that public relations is interested in them. Therefore, public relations public are different from general public, because general public is a myth in public relations practice. You cannot address all the public because your exercise will go waste. What you wanted to tell is to be told only to the specified public. They are your concern. They are your people. They need you. You need them. So that's it. So general public is not allowed in the public relations practice. It is always the targeted public, the concerned public. Public relations, another element of public relations is it is a two-way communication between an organization and its publics. It is not just one-way communication. One-way communication never helps making good cooperation and understanding. So it ought to be always a two-way communication. If I am talking to you, you must also be talking to me. Because it is not an interactive lecture, because it is an online lecture, there may not be an interaction, instant interaction, but there will be an interaction definitely in some form or the other. Therefore, when you are talking to in a physical class, if you are talking to the participants, the lecturer is talking to the participants, there will be definitely an interaction, a reaction, a response, a kind of feedback. Therefore, public relations is a two-way communication between an organization and its publics, or the communicator and the communicatee, or the speaker and the audience, the sender and the receiver. So these are all the elements of public relations, because it is always a two-way process of communication. The another element of public relations is it creates relationship between an organization and its publics. So relationship establishment is the main key criteria of public relations practice. Public relations is research-based social science. It's a social science to study the attitudes of publics and organizations. So research-based social science, there is a question whether it is an art or a science. Public relations is said to be both a science and an art. Let us see first why it is an art, how it is an art. Public relations practice an art. An art is a thing that can be improved upon each time you perform. Therefore, public relations is being a practice. If you practice it, it can be improved upon. Therefore, public relations is said to be an art. Public relations is also said to be a science. What is science? What is the characteristic of a science? The science is that each time the inputs are same, the circumstances are same, the result will be the same. So that is the specificity. That is the exactness of science. Similarly, in the public relations practice also, if you follow the principles in the given circumstances, if you put in the same efforts, the result will be the perfectly same, and even it can be improved upon. Whatever desired, whatever result you expect, that can be shown. Therefore, public relations is also called a science. Now, you can say that public relations is both an art and a science. An art because it can be improved upon each time you practice. Improvisation can be done. It is a science because given the same inputs, given the same circumstances, the result will be as expected. So the another basic key element of public relations is relationship management. Management. What is manage? Manage comes from the word manas. What is manas? Manas means hand. Hands. Manas means hands. So managing the things with your own words. This is the root word of all management. Maybe today management may be different. Managements are many things. Even machines can manage things. But in those days, man-hours, manas, managing, because the manager himself doing it with his own hands. Now, after the system of delegation of powers has come in, everything is being delegated, and the main source will be still managing the delegatees, the deputies. So the management comes from the manage comes from the manas. Manas means hands. Hands must be doing with your own words, own hands. It means you are doing with taking utmost care. So Basically, public relations is relationship management. Governments and the corporate world look to public relations to promote their policies and programs. The government is there. Whatever is the form of government, it has its own role. It has its own rights. It has its own immunities. It has its own responsibility as a government. And similarly, a corporate organization. What is a corporate organization? It is an incorporated entity registered according to an authority and functions under the control of the government, and it will have its management. It will have its funds from different sources, and it will have its specific mission and the vision and the aims and the objectives. That is an organization. So there also you will be practicing public relations. How? That's what we are going to discuss in the lessons to come. Basically, public relations is relationship management, and it is a planned effort or management function to promote relations. As we already discussed, it should promote the relationships between the organization and whatever is the organization, between the organization and its concerned public. Organization's efforts to reach certain goals. Why public relations? Public relations is important because it seeks to achieve the aims and objectives, the vision and mission of any organization. And the another key element is mutual understanding between an organization and its publics. So in the two definitions we discussed in the beginning, one definition given by Public Relations Society of America, and the other one is Chartered Institute of Public Relations or British Institute of Public Relations. All these key elements are incorporated into that definition itself. Shall I repeat that? Public relations is a deliberate, planned, and sustained effort to establish and maintain mutual understanding between an organization and its publics. Therefore, now all these elements have been tallied with the definition. So these are all the key words. And another element of public relations is it is evaluation of public attitudes and opinions. Public attitude, public perception. If I draw a line on the board, different people will perceive it in a different manner based on their backgrounds, based on their age, based on their understanding, based on their education, and many more things. So if I ask somebody illiterate to say what was the line drawn, he will say it is a cart route. A mathematician, a student of mathematics say it is a vakrareka, and somebody say it is a wave. Somebody says it is a zigzag. So depending upon the background of the perceiver, it means the person who perceives the things is called perception. It is called attitude. And what is opinion? Opinion is always a considered thing. So our attitude, our exposition towards the things will result into opinion. Opinion matters much in public relations practice. Opinion is a very big thing in public relations practice. The very democracy is based on public opinion. How the public opinion is expressed in democracy? In the form of voting, in the form of resentment, in the form of strikes, and in whatever form we wanted to express, it will be in the name of the opinion. And again, there is a thing called consensus of public opinion, which we are going to discuss about majority, numerical majority of public opinion, consensus of the public opinion, and effective public opinion. The consensus or the majority, numerical majority of the public opinion may be a bigger in size, but the effective public opinion may be smaller in size, and even it may be invisible at most of the times, but still it is effective. That is called effective public opinion. So public opinion matters much in any field of human activity. Even our advertising, even our marketing, even our buying of things, be it basic necessities or the luxuries or the needs, it is always because of the opinion of the people, personal opinion of the self. All together will prompt a human being, will prompt a man to go in for these certain things, because public opinion is important because it is a human faculty. It's a human nature. We go by our own opinion. We go by the opinion of others. We go by the opinion of the elders. We go by the opinion of the experts. That is a different thing. We will be going to discuss in the future classes. Another element is an organization's policies, procedures, and actions as they relate to different publics. Steps taken to ensure that policies, procedures, and actions are in the public interest and socially responsible. When you are studying a subject, what you have to do is you have to select the terms, the terminology, the difficult words first, and then try to understand what they are. Look into the meaning of the word in the dictionary. Look into the definition of the term in the encyclopedia. Try to understand the word first. And if you can understand the word in the beginning, and in whatever circumstances it occurs, you can be in a position to understand according to the circumstances under which the term or the word has been used. In every profession, there will be certain kinds of words. They are called lexic, a specific language. They are also called jargons. Jargons are specialized language exclusive to the profession. That is called jargonic language. Suppose we have certain words, certain terms and terminology exclusive to public relations. There are certain words exclusive to legal practice. There are certain words exclusive to medicine. There are certain words exclusive to journalism. So you cannot understand them so easily just by looking at them, just while listening at them. All these jargonic words may have the origin from either Greek or Latin or French or whatever it is, but it is our duty to understand the words, difficult words, the terms, the phrases, the maxims, the idioms, and all these things, so that we can comprehend the subject accurately. We can understand it first, then it is easy for us to pursue the things. Now, let me say about the target audience, because we are discussing the elements in the practice of public relations. Target audience. Target audience, ultimately, you work hard to build and protect the image of your organization while practicing public relations. And these targeted audience are called clients. And these clients can be both existing and the prospective. It will be more inclined to take up your services or purchase your product unless they get convinced, unless you make them understand, unless you give them some kind of information in the beginning, and unless you convince them. Unless they don't convince, they will not accept you, your product, your services, your ideas. No aspect of your public relations campaign, again, campaign. What is campaign? Campaign, you know, general meaning. But the campaign will have different stages. What are the campaigns? I think in the future lessons, we will be discussing more about the campaign. A campaign may be any campaign to promote the product or to promote the services, to let the people know about. Suppose, for example, Pulse Polio campaign. What is Pulse Polio campaign? Who is the sponsor? Government of India, state governments are the sponsors of the campaign. What will happen in the campaign? The campaign will begin with a communication process. Campaign will begin with communication process. And that communication process is preceded by a process called fact finding. You do fact finding first, and then you plan it, you communicate it, and then you will analyze what has happened after the campaign. So no aspect of your PR campaign should be random or isolated, but rather it all serves the purposes of establishing your voice in your industry, building credibility, and the eventual aim of allowing you to spread your company or organization's name further. And then in the campaign, what is important is message. Before this, I need to tell you a simple communication model. Simple communication model, how information gets transmitted from the source to the receiver, from the communicator to the communicatee, from the speaker to the listener. Everything will have a model in order to perceive, in order to understand things. The model of communication, a primitive model, I will tell you, it is the model of, as students of journalism, you must be all knowing about the models of communication yet. Because in the context of public relations, in the context of campaigns, in the context of dissemination of message, it is my duty to again repeat what is the basic model of communication. The basic model of communication evolved by Aristotle is SSA. Speaker, speech, and audience. This is a linear model because it is in a line. Speaker, speech, and audience. This is the basic model of communication. There must be a speaker. The communication, if at all it has to happen, there must be a communicator, a speaker. And then there must be a speech. So written word may not be popular in the beginning. So speech is a basic thing at least. Speech includes both oral word and the written word. So speaker and speech, and there must be some listener to listen to you, or somebody to receive your communication. Because it is in one line, it is called a linear model of communication, primitive communication, basic model of communication of Aristotle. And in between, several models of communication have been laid out by the experts belonging to the both history, social sciences, psychology, mathematics, telegraphs, telephones, and all these things. Experts have evolved different models with certain ingredients, adding and deleting, including mechanical devices. But the standardized model of communication is SMCR. SMCR. The sender, the message, the channel, and the receiver. This is the standardized model of communication. So in this, sender, message, channel, receiver. While we are dealing with the relevance of message, this must be kept in mind. One of the hardest challenges is to stay relevance of message to the target audience. If the message is not clear, if there is no message at all, there is no communication happening at all. It seems that the agenda is always changing, and it can so often be tiring trying to keep it up. Even if the nature of what you do essentially remains the same, communication is both power and input for change. Knowledge is information, information is power, and communication is all pervasive. Without communication, there is no existence of the world. Let me again tell you what is the communication. Having said about the message and the communication model, what is communication? Communication is a dynamic form of information. You have information stored in your brain. You have information stored in your books. You have information stored in various devices. The storing devices like electronic devices, a pen drive, a computer, and a floppy, and a disk, and whatever it is, including yourself, your own brain. But these are all the information storing devices. As long as the information or the knowledge is stored in one device, that remains as an information only. The moment it gets transferred to this destination or the receiver or the communicatee, then it becomes a communication. Simply, information is static and communication is dynamic, we can say like this. So communication is both power and input for change. Let me also go back to the origin of the communication. The communication is all pervasive. Communication is omnipotent. Communication is omniscient. We, the people in India, being the ancient civilization with a religion called Hinduism, the Hinduism, as per the religious scriptures, believe that the Om was in the beginning. Om. What is Om? Om is a sound. Om has several meanings. Before the word, before the writing, before the language developed, there was only a sound in the beginning. There was Om in the beginning. This is according to the religions like Hinduism, not only Hinduism, there are various religions. They believed that there was the voice of God in the beginning, that is oral communication. Oral communication. There was the word of God in the beginning is the version of the religions that came after the text has come in. The religions like Christianity, religions like Islamism, religions like Buddhism, religions like Sikhism, religions, other religions that came after the text came, they believed according to their scriptures that there was the word of God in the beginning. The word was written, and that itself is the word of the God. So this is a written form of communication. The earlier one, when the text was not born, there was only a sound, that was oral communication. That was oral, audial communication that can be listened. And now this is text communication. The word is text. It can be seen. So it is a visual communication. It is written word. So the communication can be anything. Communication can be oral. Communication can be verbal. Communication can be a written thing. Communication can be non-written thing. Communication can be gestural. Gesture means a body language. Body language is universal. Universal language doesn't need any script. It can be understood by anybody, provided there are circumstances to understand. Therefore, communication is all pervasive. Just now we have discussed what Hinduism believed, what other religions have believed. So communication is very important. Written communication is equally important. Your message, now in the practice of public relations, your message must be crystal clear. Whether you speak or whether you write, it must be very clear. The message, the text is always king. Content is always king. This is what is the belief of the communicators. Pick your words with care in all media you use. Need-based communication strategy will always lead to success. So come to the nature and scope of public relations in relation to democratic country. James Madison is the 4th president of United States of America. You know, America was once a colony of the Britain, and then many colonies have, many people belonging to the Western countries have moved to the United States of America, and that is supposed to be the superpower and supposed to be the big brother, and the first democratic capitalist country is the United States of America. So the James Madison, 4th president of US, said, a popular government without popular information or means of obtaining it is but a prologue to a farce or tragedy or both. What is a popular government? Popular government does not mean famous government. Popular government means the government elected by the people. That is called popular government. Population is people. The government elected by the population, that is people, is called popular government. Without popular information, the information that is useful for the public, either this way or that way, either from the public to the government or government to the public, that is called popular information. In other words, it is called public information. So a popular government without popular information or public information or means of obtaining it, if there is no provision of getting the information from the government, you will be in the dark. People will not be knowing what is happening in the government. If there is no public communication or no public information from the government, you do not know, the people do not know what are the schemes of the government meant for the public. So this is the job of the public relations practitioner in the government. Public relations department as such, attached to the government, be it central government or the state government, their duty is to give out, disseminate public information relating to the schemes, projects, and whatnot to the public concerned. So if the information reaches the public, they will get benefit out of the communication, and they will trust the government, and they will trust the party in power, and they may vote them to power, and they may bring them down from the power. It all will happen because in the popular government, That means a democratic government, a popular information is important, and the means of obtaining it is also important. Otherwise, it becomes a prologue to a farce. Prologue to a farce means an introduction to the comedy. It becomes a farce, means comedy or tragedy, or it will result in tragedy. So if I am in the government today, if I don't give out popular information about the people, benefiting the people, I'll be defeated. So it becomes a tragedy. Therefore, as rightly pointed out the James Madison, a popular government without popular information or means of obtaining it is but a prologue to a farce or tragedy or both. This statement focuses on the need for free flow of information without any hindrances, without any hurdles, without any noise between a democratic government and public. So when we come across the word noise, I should explain what is noise. What is noise? Sound is not noise. Sound is useful. Sound is necessary. Sound has some use, whereas noise has no use at all. If I am not talking to you using this microphone, and if there is no sound, and if the mic is muted, the communication will not happen. The information will not get transferred to you. So you might have experienced the teacher saying in the classroom in the lower classes, they said, don't make a noise. Will they say ever, don't make a sound? Don't make a noise, because noise is an obstruction. Noise is an unnecessary thing. Noise is the negative word for sound. In communication, you have to demarcate these two things, sound versus noise. If there is no sound in the beginning, the om will not be there. You cannot understand. If there is no utterances, unless it is mukhi, unless it is gestural language, if there is no noise, no sound, no communication. But noise is a cluster of all disturbances, all the hurdles, all the problems, all the troubles that will not allow the communication, that is sound, from passing through the medium of communication, is called noise. So sound is equated to that of, so communication opposite is noise. Communication, if communication is equated to that of God, the noise is equated to that of God's adversary. This is Devudu, this is Satan. So this is God and this is Satan. So it is very important for you to know what is noise and what kinds of noises will be there, what kinds of communication barriers will act as noise. There are about 10 barriers of communication and they are clubbed together as noise. Your age is a barrier. Your psychology is a barrier. Your physiology is a barrier. Your language is a barrier. If I talk to you in some other language, the language which you do not know and I cannot express, and that language will become a barrier. So language barrier is a barrier. And I think you are all aware of these kinds of communication barriers because you are students of journalism and mass communication. But as a passing reference, I'm just telling you. Then preamble of the Constitution says, the preamble of Indian Constitution is a part of the Constitution of India. The preamble, as it is presented to the Constitution of India, is quoted as below, because we are examining the important ingredients in the communication in the Constitution and how they are related to public relations practice. What is Constitution? You know. What is preamble? Preamble is nothing but the visiting card of the Constitution. Preamble is nothing but the visiting card of the Constitution. So what visiting card tells? The visiting card tells about the visitor. The visiting card tells about the person who is giving the visiting card. In brief, in very short. So preamble is the preface of the Constitution. We, the people of India, yes, people. We deal with the people. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign state, socialistic, secular, democratic republic. So the adjectives. So this is a noise. What we are experiencing is noise. While we are communicating, There is a noise out there that is not sound. What is happening between you and me is sound that is needed for communication. But what is happening externally is some kind of noise because it cannot be avoided. But somehow it can be avoided provided there are rules, systems in force. So we, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, these are all the adjectives of the country, and to secure all, to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status of opportunity, and promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. The preamble is considered to be one of the most significant parts of the Constitution of India, focusing on the main objectives of the Indian Constitution. The preamble includes the 4 objectives, 4 keywords we are eliciting from the preamble. That is equality. This implies to equal opportunity. When equality will happen, if there is distribution of information, if there is a communication, justified communication to all, if there is communication about some scheme or the project from the government to all the people, then there is equality. If you communicate only with some kind of people, the privileged people, then there is no equality. Then justice, this ensures fair judgment. Fraternity, this aims in maintaining the integrity and strength of the country, along with special stress on individual dignity. Fraternity, Saubhratrutvam, liberty. This assures every citizen of India of freedom of speech. Freedom of speech, Article 19(1)(c), the expression of thought, religious independence, all these things derived from Article 19(1)(c). So that is called liberty. If India is a socialist, secular, democratic republic, all these are adjectives of the country to secure to all its citizens social and economic and political justice. Its success depends much more on the development of the people in the democracy. So people are important in any democracy. People are essential for practice of public relations. People are essential for the communication because they are the audience. They are the people important to the democratic country. Then coming to the democracy, like India, is best served by free flowing of two-way communication. As I already told you, the communication, if it is not happening two-way, if it is not a two-way process, if it is not a two-way traffic, then one way will not lead you anywhere because you cannot face the people. This will help both government and citizens to make informed decisions. Decisions are decisions, autocratic decisions, arbitrary decisions, but informed decisions are different from other decisions. Because with the informed decisions, you will be considering the attitudes, opinions of all the people. There will be consensus of opinion, and opinionated judgments, opinionated decisions are always good than individual decisions. Since public opinion is the backbone of democratic polity, public relations has a major role to play in information dissemination for creating a well-informed society. Citizens always have a right to know. Yes, this is right to know. It is given in the fundamental right itself. In those days, as I told you, in the days of despot kings, in the days of autocrats, in the days of laissez-faire concept of the state, there was a concept called public be damned. Public be damned means public do not be cared, need not be cared. Why should we care them? We are the rulers. We are giving them whatever security, what they want. We are collecting the taxes and giving them the protection. Protection from external threats and internal peace, law and order. What not they should be given. So that was the status. When the countries have turned to welfare concept, now the situation has changed. Now it is public be informed. Public shall be informed. They should necessarily be informed. Otherwise, there is no meaning for democracy. The media units of Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, there are about there are about 17 Government of India media units like Doordarshan, All India Radio, Press Information Bureau, Films Division, Song and Drama Division, DAVP, all these media units. We will give out the information about the government, about the schemes, project plans and programs of the government to the segmented people. Suppose Song and Drama Division will take care of Song and Drama. Public Information Bureau will give out all kinds of information to the media, not to the public. So they have specified roles. All these government of media units will perform their own functions. Public relations professions have a responsibility to preserve and develop the way our societies use reason in deliberating social change. So public relations practice is also one of the profession that seeks for social change, change for the better. Therefore, public relations practitioners are called catalysts. Catalyst means change agents. Public relations as distinct from propaganda, publicity, public affairs, lobbying, and advertising. What is propaganda? Propaganda is bad in PR. Propaganda is associated with only three things. That is war. Therefore, we say war propaganda. The second one is religious propaganda. Religious propaganda. And the third one is political propaganda. So war propaganda, religious propaganda, and political propaganda. In these three propagandas, there will not be truth. The communicator will never try to give you the correct information. So Goebbels' theory of propaganda, you might be knowing. So repeatedly telling some falsehood, some false things, and making people to believe that it is correct is called propaganda. So Goebbels' theory of propaganda is, even if something good is happening, even if something is happening, that will not be told. So Germany's Hitler's information minister, Goebbels, used to tell to the world during the Second World War, saying that even though his army suffered a lot, he never used to say that, but in turn he used to say that the Allied forces suffered so much of loss, 1,000 people were killed. So, but the fact remains that his 1,000 people were killed, but only from the Allies, only 5 or 10 people might have been killed. But he says the reverse. So repeatedly opted to tell the suppressed the facts, thereby tried to gain the upper hand. But ultimately what happened? Truth always prevails. So ultimately, the Berlin was attacked by the Allied forces and the Germany was defeated. But propaganda is very bad. In religions, people will say that you take our religion, you will go to the heaven. The political people, through their manifestos, they say, we will do this thing and that thing. They will promise 100 things, but they will not realize. It will not happen. At least 10% may not happen in any point of time, under any circumstances. So war, religion, and politics are associated with propaganda. It is different from publication. Propaganda is bad in publications. The second thing is publicity. What is publicity? Giving out the information through any mode, not like propaganda, but giving exact information. Supposing I give an advertisement in the newspaper, I will be paying for that. But suppose for an occasion, for an event, I will be inviting a VIP, and then automatically the media will be there. Media will also be invited, and that event will be covered. Then there is a coverage of the event in the newspapers. Then it is called publicity. And publicity is good in PR, whereas propaganda is bad in PR. Public affairs. Public affairs relates to the government. Public affairs relates to the government. Public affairs means public affairs maintaining relations with not only the citizens of the country, and also it maintains cordial relations, international relations with the other countries. These are all fall under the public affairs. This is good in law. Propaganda is bad in PR. Publicity is good in PR as one of the spokes, and public affairs is also a practice of public relations. And then lobbying. Lobbying is always adopted by the practitioners, but it is not recognized in India. In India and certain other countries, it is a question of ethics. In Western countries, Central European countries, and then in Australia, lobbying is a legalized profession. Lobbyists are licensed. They can practice on behalf of the government. But at one point of time, the public relations practitioners were called spin doctors and lobbyists. Now in India, because we follow the ethics, we don't recognize lobbying as a profession of public relations or as a profession. But yet we have some interest groups, we have some pressure groups. Suppose FICCI is a pressure group, IMA is an interest group. We get the things from the government through these interest groups and pressure groups. That is none other than lobbying. But this is a different kind of lobbying. Whereas Neera Radia, you might be remembering, Neera Radia was the PR agency that adopted various malpractices and tried to influence the government for seeking certain things that was not allowed, and cases were booked against that PR agency called Neera Radia, and therefore lobbying is bad in public relations practice, at least in India. So propaganda and lobbying are not good in practice of public relations, but bad in PR. The advertising. What is the relationship and the differences between advertising and public relations? Advertising itself as a practice, it's a paid form of non-personal presentation. So I have something to say in the newspaper or media, whatever, radio or newspaper or any other thing. I'll be paying, it is a paid form. I'll be buying the space, I'll be buying the time. And then for that, it is paid for. And then it is non-personal presentation. I'll be not be directly presenting, but through somebody else, through some agency, I'll be presenting the things. Advertising means, basically, advertise means to draw the attention. You draw the attention first. Advertise means to draw attention. Draw the attention first by hook or crook and then try to communicate. So advertising is also a big subject where sometimes you cannot try to find ethics in advertising. But in public relations practice, it is always ethics. There is a devoted lesson for ethics in public relations. Then having seen this, the difference and the similarities between public relations and other forms of communication of messages, let us move on to functions of public relations. What are the functions of public relations? Community relations. It has to maintain relationship with the targeted public and also community relations. Supposing an organization is there, an organization will have its community around, an organization will have its own internal and external publics, and those communities will have to be communicated with sufficiently, they have to be given information with. Therefore, it is called community relations. Just for example, BHEL in Ramachandrapuram, as everybody knows, or any other government organization, maybe Metropolitan Water Supply and Sewerage Board, they have to have some community relations. If you look at the BHEL, they have a community around. They have procured land while establishing. They have procured land and therefore they have been displaced. So there is a community still around, and that is community close by. And there are communities also elsewhere that they're based on their products and services. All these communities will have to be taken care, and the relations will have to be practiced with these communities all around. So the broad terms, the general community consists of those who may not be directly related, may not be residing nearby, but they are connected with the business of the organization elsewhere. These are all the communities. There is a difference, there is a subtle difference between society and community. Society is a larger. Entire India may be called a society, Indian society, but communities are different. They have been given some characteristics. Community is part of the larger society. So community is smaller. So the doctors community, the lawyers community, the PR community, so it can be done like this. So the other segment of the community, the other segment for practicing public relations is employee relations. Employees are called the internal public. Every organization will have two kinds of publics, one internal public and the external public. So employees fall as internal public. Employees, as aptly said, they are the assets beyond balance sheet figures. They are the assets beyond balance sheet figures. Employees are the assets beyond. They are the ambassadors of the organization. They are the face and index of the organization. I think you might have heard about Alvin and other organizations. Alvin was damaged Alvin was buried because of the employees, because the dissatisfied employee will damage the reputation, identity, and goodwill of the organization. So employee relations is foremost. Employees are the first. The slogan has to be always remembered. It is they that provide service to the customers. Just imagine when banking operations across the country come to a standstill, when employees go on strike, we will be blaming the banks first. We will be blaming the government next, not the employees. We will be having sympathy against the employee because he might be striking for some kind of escalation in the salary or some working conditions. But then the reputation of the banks go. The reputation of the government will go. The reputation of the party in power will go. So employee relations are a must. Then government relations, a public relations practitioner, a professional, or the public relations department attached to a wing will have to have a kind of relations with the government departments. That is called government relations. It is defined as the art of working with material public authorities, legislature, and regulating authorities that can influence achievement of organization and business objectives. That is important. If the government relations are not maintained, there may be an order, there may be a GO, there may be a memorandum, there may be any rule or regulation that may go against the objectives of your organization. Therefore, you have to practice relations with the government and the government authorities. Financial relations means basically it is relationship with the banks, relations with the financial institutions, relationship with the shareholders, relationship with the investors. Then media relations. Often public relations is mistaken as media relations, though media relations is part of the practice of public relations. But yet, media relations is the foremost function of public relations practice. A healthy media relationship is very essential for a successful PR program. Society today is of mass media and multimedia. Mass media greatly influences public opinion. What are the mass media? They are also called conventional media, traditional media, legacy media. Mass media may be newspaper, television, radio, and cinema. These are the media that covers the masses. And there are certain media that will not cover the masses. Therefore, they are not mass media. They are not focused media. They are narrow media. While radio is a broadcasting, podcasting is a narrowcasting. Do you understand? So therefore, media relations is important. Then public relations, possible reasons an organization may reach out to the media are the launch of a new product. It is the occasion while launching a new product or a new service or giving out a new idea. Initiation of new factories, diversification, offices, it gives an opportunity for the PR practitioners to go to the media. Financial results, your company has achieved success. It achieved profit, it earned profits. Then you will go to the media to say that these are our practices, these are our relations with the people, clientele, therefore we achieved this progress. Then organization sponsored events or awards nights. Then launch of organization promotional campaigns. Then during disasters, strikes or organization closures, awards, accolades for the company, visits from company dignitaries, celebrities, involvement of local community activities, community engagement. In all these occasions, you will have an opportunity. The public relations practitioner will have an opportunity to go to the media. Then corporate social responsibility is also part of public relations practice. What is CSR? Corporate social responsibility is defined as the process by which a corporation participates in the welfare of its internal and external stakeholders, enhancing its environment and welfare to the advantages of both organization and the community concerned. It is a commitment of the corporation to the welfare and improvement of the quality of life, internal and external. So as I told you, any enterprise, any entity, any venture, any adventure will cause some damage to the nature as well as the public. Supposing you are establishing a factory, you will be needing some kind of land, be it government land or a private land or a forest land. There will be certainly a displacement. a damage. Of course, there will be a fair compensation. Government will be paying, you will be paying, everybody gets benefited, but that will not compensate the original settings of the natural, original settings, original habitats of the people. Therefore, the corporate social responsibility comes into play. To offset the damage caused by you, some kind of gestures is called corporate social responsibility, because as a corporate means a legal individual, a legal personality, a company, a cluster. Just like individual social responsibility, you have responsibility towards the society. A corporate as a legal citizen, as a legal personality, will also have a responsibility. And if you discharge that, that is called corporate social responsibility. And you might be thinking CSR activities. In earlier days, prior to 2014, when the company law was not amended, the companies used to dole out as a charity in the sectors of their will. Maybe any kind of giving money, construction of chowdhuries or something, or giving out distribution of food items and all these things. But as per the amendment given in 2014 to the Companies Act, from that year onwards, 2% of the profits shall necessarily be spent on corporate social responsibility activities. And the government also specified these are all the activities under which the money devoted, the 2% money devoted for spending under corporate social responsibility. So with this, what government cannot do directly, because it lacks machinery, it is getting done through corporates spread across the country. So this is about corporate social responsibility. The role of public relations is interpreting management to the public. It means telling about the management to the public and carrying the message from the public to the management. Therefore, a public relations practitioner is both a mouthpiece and an antenna. He will tell the things about management to the public, that is audience, concerned audience, targeted audience. And then as a antenna, he will get the things, he will perceive the things and then translate them to the management so that both will adjust according to the cooperation. So this is all about lesson 1. And lesson 2 is about principles of public relations. Now, in this lesson, we deal with what is concept of organization, what are the 10 basic principles of PR, that is corporate vision, two-way communication process, public interest, truth, good cause and good deeds, multifunctional discipline, multimedia approach, change agency, sustained efforts, mutual understanding. Of course, in the first lesson, we have covered many of these things here already. Now, concept of organization. Organization is a group of people joined together under certain rules and regulations for achieving certain goals. Organization is the foundation upon which the whole structure of management is built. Organization is related with developing a framework where the total work is divided into manageable components in order to facilitate the achievement of objectives or goals. Definitions of organizations, 1 or 2, let us see. Various different authors have defined organization. Just like you take anything, there will be different meanings, different terminology, but the key elements will be the same. According to Davies, organization may be defined as a group of individuals, large or small, that is cooperating under the direction of executive leadership. According to Chester Barnard, organization is a system of cooperation activities of 2 or more persons. I told you it is a juristic person. It is a legal personality. It can sue and it can be sued. It is also just like a citizen. It is a corporate citizen. Though many people are there to manage the things, but it is reckoned as a one person. So that is corporation. What is structure of corporation? In order to achieve the desired goals, sound and effective organizational structure is necessary. They will have necessarily, an organization will definitely have publics. I told you publics are divided into 2, internal publics and external publics. Internal publics are employees, employers, and then managers, Workers, all kinds of workers are called internal public, and the external publics are those publics that are related, are concerned with the organization, be it government, be it banks, be it elected representatives, local leaders, and whatnot. All kinds of people that are outside yet connected to the organization are called external public. Those who are directly working for the organization are called internal publics. Publics of PR having divided into an external and internal, and the extended publics are that can be categorized as external publics are the community around the potential employees, prospective employees, then suppliers of services of materials, investors, money market, distributors, stockists, and consumers, users, opinion leaders, government, bureaucrats. These are all called external publics. Why should we know about the public? Because we need to communicate with them. We need to establish an understanding, a mutual understanding, and then seek their patronage. This is the reason why we need to establish relations and communicating with them consistently. What happens if we do not define publics? We will be in the sea without rudders and prismatic compass. We don't know where we are going. We should know. The first principle of communication is know your audience. If you don't know your audience, if you don't understand your audience, you will not be able to communicate with them properly. If I do not know who are my targeted public, I know for sure and certain that you are MA students of pursuing journalism and public relations, and you need public relations lessons to be told. Therefore, I know you, I know my audience, I'm communicating with you, whatever you want. If I do not know my clientele, if I do not know the subject, the communication will go waste. What happens if we do not know, define the public? If you do not define the public, you will not be knowing your audience, you will not be communicating the properly. If your audience are wrong, they will not listen to you. I told you in the beginning itself, there are various barriers of communication, right from age, gender, language, psychology, physiology, circumstances, region, religion, all these things are barriers. First, psychology and physiology. And some people, some participants may be interested, even though they are pursuing MA journalism and mass communication. Some people, they might be already knowing what the subject is. Therefore, they will be postponing the attending the classes. They might opt for listening it afterwards. So their time is a constraint, time as a barrier. Some people may be sorry, there was a call. Some people may not be suffering, may not be doing well, maybe some ill health. There is a physical barrier. Some people may not be in good mood. That is a psychological barrier. Therefore, the attendance at this class is also dependent on various kinds of communication barriers. So if you know the public, and if you can communicate with them, then the communication will get through. Otherwise, it will not get through. And what are the 10 basic principles of PR? The one is corporate mission. What is the mission? Mission is a statement. Corporate mission is a statement. What are you? What you are going to do? What is your direction? That mission strategy is providing direction, providing legitimization, and motivating and inspiring. That is called the mission statement. What is the purpose of a mission statement? A mission statement is to build a strong feature, and certain other examples are there. And it is for two-way communication process. And then public interest. Public must be interested in, otherwise public interest is a common concern among citizens in the management and affairs of local, state, and national governments. Any policy or public relations program of an organization must be designed in the interest of the public opinion. If you are giving what they want, they will relish. If you are giving what they do not want, they will not give you attention. They will not listen. So that is called public interest, not the public interest litigation. This is the interest of the public. In most societies, there is a basic presumption that people should be able to go about their own business in their own interest. In the course of this, they will interact with other people and influence and be influenced by the activities. So in communication, it is always important that we should ensure the interest of the public. And then truth. Public relations is a profession based on truth, values, and ethics. In advertising, there may not be truth. In advertising, there may not be values. In advertising, there may not be ethics. So Seagrams is a company that advertises its liquor, and it says in the advertisement saying that Seagrams soda, and the visuals will be small children smiling. So is there any connection between the advertising and the product and the way they are advertising? So it is not ethical. So advertising sans ethics, advertising sans facts, advertising sans truth, whereas public relations is constructed based on the truth and the facts, ethics, and morals. PR strategies have always been developed with one major basic premise, that is truth, honesty, and then good cause and good deeds. Any public relations exercise, any public relations campaign, any public relations communication is aimed at good cause, and it is meant for good deeds. And then multifunctional discipline. Public relations practitioner is a jack of all, master of many. Is a jack of all, master of many. It is a multifunctional discipline. It is an art of getting the things done. Public relations practice is an art of getting the things done. He is also called the go-getter. He is also called the go-getter. So anything asked, the PR practitioner must be in a position to give you an answer and get the things done according to his resources. So public relations does a multidimensional function and supports various departments within the organization with a broad communication strategy, because communication strategy is given by the public relations department to all other departments like HR, finance, crisis management, production management, material management, marketing, transportation, and whatnot. What are all the wings are there? Public relations is interstellar luna minor. It means it is a moon among the stars, this public relations profession. I told you in the beginning, it is a profession of conscientiousness. It is based on the truth. It is based on the morals, ethics, and values. Then the multimedia approach. It is not good to depend upon one single medium of communication. You need to go for media mix, multimedia approach. But it is always depending upon the resources. It always depending upon the money. It also depends upon the people to be reached. For a group of people to be reached, you need not print it in a newspaper or radio, or broadcast it in radio or television or in advertisement in cinema. Where people are, go searching for them, find out the right medium of communication, and then communicate crisply, briefly, and exactly. So this is multimedia approach. And sometimes you will have to approach through many media, that is called multimedia approach. So at the same time, you'll be communicating on the radio, at the same time television, and all these things. Then communication, as I told you, is a change agent, is a catalyst. Change for the better. Public relations is a catalyst for change. Catalyst means change agent. It helps in changing attitudes of people, but also creates trust. He creates trust and then communicate. He creates goodwill. Goodwill cannot be found in the figures. It is in the mind. So reputation, image are all based on the goodwill. It cannot be quantified, but sometimes quantified in terms of money, but it cannot be seen directly with your naked eyes. Trust and reputation, which again is linked to the performance of the organization. The following model will explain the transformation from ignorance to awareness, ill-informed to well-informed, apathy to interest. Apathy means against sympathy. Negative image to positive image, ill will to goodwill, reactive to proactive. What is reactive? Reactive means acting after the action is over. Reaction, responding. Proactive means doing things in advance. A public relations practitioner is always a proactive man. Sustained efforts must be there. There must be a mutual understanding. It is the duty of the public relations practitioner to establish the mutual understanding first by his first communication and then continue it. Thereby, you'll be winning the favorable public opinion. Ultimately, it is the favorable public opinion in favor of the organization for which the public relations practitioner is working. Even the government seeks to have favorable public opinion in its favor. Otherwise, it will not go for election again. Even if it goes, it may either get elected or get defeated, depending upon the public opinion they have in the that is called numerical majority, the consensus of the majority opinion. And corporate identity and corporate image. What is identity and what is image? Identity can be seen by through logos, design, colors, uniforms, text, and all these things. Whereas the corporate image, like goodwill, it cannot be seen. It is developed, but reflected elsewhere in the sales, in the acceptance of the services, in the registering of the sales, accepting the goods and all these things. Therefore, identity is one thing that can be exhibited. Supposing you see the LIC logo, the moment you see it, because it is a logo, you will immediately recognize that it is LIC. If you see RTC logo everywhere, you will understand that it is RTC. And if you say Maruti, just by Maruti and Godrej, you will understand that Maruti is a car and Godrej is an Almira. So that is the identity they get. It is by sustenance, by continuity, by communicating repeatedly, by maintaining relations. But whereas image, once image is built, it has to be safeguarded. If something happens bad, the image may likely to fall down. Then it is an exercise of public relations to again restore the image and improve the enhancing the reputation and image. This is about identity and image. Now, I suggest you, before you go for examinations, because your time is up, 11:30 up to 11:30, 10 to 11:30, time is up. I'll take just a minute. I suggest you to go to the introduction first and then try to underline the words of difficulty, then refer them in the dictionary or the encyclopedia or Google. That is one process. Then second thing is, when you come across any kind of additional language, additional terms and phrases, then again you repeat the same process. Then the third thing is, there are certain suggested questions, model questions at the end of each unit, that is each lesson. The long questions are there to be answered in 40 lines or 50 lines, and short questions are there to be answered in 20-25 lines. You also read the questions carefully and then try to find out where the answer is within the lesson. Sometimes the lesson may be found in the same lesson, answer to the question will be found in the same lesson, and sometimes it gets repeated in other lessons also. Try to understand that and mark them, note down the points. And the fourth thing you will have to practice is glossary. Glossary is given at the end of each lesson. For example, in this lesson, second lesson, corporate mission. Corporate mission is a mission statement. It's a mission statement as the goal of an organization that helps guide decision making internally while also articulating the company's mission to customers, suppliers, and the community. In simple, what is corporate mission? It is a statement of what you are telling to the targeted audience. This is in simple, that is called corporate mission. What is public interest? Public interest can be visualized as something that represents the values, aspirations, and objectives of the community polity. How laws are made? Statutes, they are called laws. How laws are made? It depends upon the opinion of the public. That is called public interest. If the public are interested in something, that will become a law tomorrow. That will become the order of the government tomorrow. What public wanted is to be done by the government. Today's public opinion is tomorrow's legislation, is a legal maxim. Also in public relations practice. Today's public opinion, because we deal with the opinion of the people, consensus of the opinion, effective public opinion, majority opinion, numerical opinion, all kinds of opinions. So public interest can be visualized that way. What is publics? Public and publics. One particular kind of public are called public, therefore public relations. always yes. And you cannot say public's relation or public's relations. It is always public relations as far as the subject is concerned. And when you say standalone, public is public, one kind of public. If different kinds of publics are to be listed, then you call them publics. Publics of Andhra Pradesh, publics of Telangana, publics of Karnataka, publics, because there is a difference between these publics. One thing is region, the other thing is language. Basically language, and the other thing is region. Of course, the third one is culture and all these things, practices and their natural settings. Therefore, they are called publics, publics of different states. When you say this, you say publics of different states of India. When you call public of India, they are all put together. They are Indians, bounded by a boundary and given by the citizenship of India. What is organization? Organization is a group of individuals, large, maybe small, that is operating under a direction, according to a rule, according to a system, accomplishing certain goals and objectives. Multifunctional discipline is a discipline that supports various departments. Government relations is the relationship maintained with the government organizations or the people in the authority of the government. What is two-way communication process? Communicator to the communicatee, sender to the receiver, speaker to the audience, source to the destination. This is called two-way process and vice versa. The feedback can be both response or reaction. Then change agent means the man who tries to change the situation for the good. Change for the good, not for the bad. They are called catalysts. Catalyst mean change agent. What is identity? Corporate identity is the visual identification of an organization by the livery. Livery ante cloth. Nurse chodagane, the moment you see, we can say the nurse. Of course, we don't know the difference between staff nurse and the other nurses, chief nurse or the midwife or the anything, male nurse. But by the moment you say the dress, you can say, the moment you say khaki, you will identify the police, maybe forest department, maybe fire service department. But one thing is certain, that they are disciplined forces. But if you still know something more about this thing, then you will realize that this is police, this is a traffic police, this is fire service, this is forest service, this is other service, or even municipal worker. So that is by identification, we identify the things, therefore it is called identity. And then corporate identity is the visual identification of that particular organization. Corporate and organization are similar, they are by words. It is called by logo or by color, by text, by visuals and whatnot. We identify them. And corporate identity is possible by repeated presentation everywhere. So if you watch a cricket game, you will be seeing the identity of certain goods, certain brands everywhere. That gives them identity first. And then depending upon their corporate social responsibility, depending upon the quality of their goods and services, depending upon the people they trust in, then the image gets boosted and maintained. But the image suffers if something happens bad. So what is corporate image? It is a composite psychological impression that continually changes and sometimes maintained in the minds of the people, depending upon the circumstances, depending upon the media coverage, their performance, their pronouncements, etc. Similar to a firm's reputation, it is called goodwill. It is the public perception of the organization or the corporate in the minds of the people. For now, we will stop here for the day one. We have covered 2 lessons in this class. Tomorrow, we will talk about block 2. In block 2, there will be 2 lessons, public relations models and history of public relations. And we'll try to trace what is the history of public relations as far as India is concerned, and also the other countries. Thank you. Thank you for listening. And thanks to the university for giving me this great opportunity of talking to you. Thank you. Namaste. I think I am done. I completed. Let's see.